Hi everyone, it's Eleni here from Yoga Hari Healing. Welcome to another one of my yoga videos. Today I thought I'd take you through an asana practice focused on creating some relief for the lower back. So for this practice today, we will need a little bit of equipment. So if you have anything, bring it with you and have it ready and have it close by. You will need a few blankets. Because I will take you through shoulder stand at the end. And if you've got a bolster, great. If you don't have a bolster, that's fine, we can use blankets. And you'll definitely need a strap. Now I have one of these elastic straps that my asana teachers innovated here in Melbourne. And I actually like them much better than the hard straps because they have a little give in it. So if you have a strap, or any strap will do, bring it with you. And if you don't have a strap, you can also just use whatever you've got at home, like a scarf. So we can use this for some binding up. Okay, so that's what we're going to need for our asana practice today. We will start off with a sitting opening posture in seated meditation to open up with some chanting. But before we do that, I'm just going to lie down and show you through a little exercise to get some movement and lubrication through the knee joints and the hip joints in preparation for sitting, because if you're doing this practice in the morning, it can be really hard to sit comfortably because there is a lot of tightness through the joints. And this is a really basic little exercise that I do to bring some movement into that area of the body so that I can sit more comfortably. So when you're ready, get your equipment, come down, lay out your mat and lie down on your mat. And when you lie flat onto your back onto the floor, you might need a blanket for the back of your head. So when you're lying back, if your chin is higher than your forehead and the back of the neck is quite short, you'll need a little bit of support underneath the head. So grab that and place it to the top of your mat. Then you can take a moment to lie down onto your back, position the blanket underneath your head, and you can keep the knees bent with the feet not too close to the buttocks and not too far away, and the arms can come onto the floor with the palms up. Just take a look down the center line of your body and make sure that the shoulders are above the hips. Settle the shoulder blades down the back. Take a moment to allow the body to yield towards the floor, and a moment just to arrive into your body. Feeling the back of the feet, the back of the body and the back of the head onto the floor. Take a few mindful breaths. And then from here, you can take the right knee towards the chest and then extend the right leg up towards the ceiling. And as you extend the right leg up, see if you can open up through the back of the knee, extending the heel towards the ceiling and the inside edge of the foot towards the ceiling. And you'll feel length through the back of the leg. And then with an inhalation, you can bend your knee and exhale, straighten the leg along the floor. Inhale, bend the knee. Exhale, straighten the leg. Inhale, bend, exhale, straighten. Inhale, bend, exhale, straighten. And now you can move and work through this exercise at your pace. So I generally like to go a little bit faster, but feel free to work at your pace, bending and straightening. And if you're going quite fast with the movements, then the movement of your breath will also move a little faster. And as you're doing this, you might hear some clicking sounds through your hip and through your knee, just lubricating and releasing through those joints in preparation for a sitting posture. So just a few more rounds, taking a few mindful breaths, and let's just do one more. And then exhale and bring the foot down onto the floor, and then bring your full awareness to the right leg now, and just feeling into the sensations in that right leg and the back of the right pelvis. Take a few breaths. And then inhaling, bending the left knee towards the chest. Exhaling, straightening the left leg. And again, really opening and stretching the back of the knee, lifting the heel towards the ceiling and the inside edge of the foot towards the ceiling. Spreading the sole of the foot also. Then inhale, bend the knee. Exhale, straighten along the floor. Inhale, bend to the chest. Exhale, straighten to the ceiling. Inhale, bend, exhale, straighten, inhale, bend, exhale, straighten, and keep going. for a few more rounds and just working at your pace, either slower or faster, whatever you prefer to do. Just remember to keep breathing as you're doing this. Good. And don't worry if you hear those clicking sounds. Keep going. A few more rounds. Let's do 3 more. And then exhale and just gently allow the leg to float down. And then bring your full awareness to the left leg. Left leg. Back of the left pelvis. Just feeling into those areas. And then in your own time, opening the eyes, bending the knees to the right and supporting yourself as you come up all the way. Great. So now we're going to come into our sitting position for our opening chant. And we're going to do Sukhasana. So I always like to use some supports for my opening chanting and meditation. And when you sit onto your blankets in Sukhasana, just make sure that there's enough height underneath your buttocks so that your knees are in line with your hips or a little bit lower. So let's start off with the right leg in front. So we're going to take the left ankle underneath the right kneecap and bend the right leg in front. Now make any adjustments that you need to, either by sliding the feet out to the side, or perhaps you might like to draw them a little inward. Great. And then you can rest your hands onto your thighs, or you can rest your hands into any seated mudra that you like. And then very gently closing down the eyes and taking a moment to arrive in Sukhasana. So feeling the body, feeling the weight underneath the buttocks, evening it out so you're not leaning more to the right or to the left or too far forward or too far back. Allow the shoulders to be above the hips. Lifting through the spine, lifting through the rib cage, softening down through the shoulders, drawing the front top throat back to feel a slight lengthening to the back of the neck, and then lifting the crown of the head towards the ceiling. Draw the eyes towards the back of the head, quieten the inner ears. And then very gently bring your palms into prayer position, Anjali Mudra, with the fingers gently pointing in towards the heart as an offering. As an offering to discovering your truest essence. So as the fingers point towards the heart, the elbows gently lift away from the body. The head slightly bows down towards the heart. Soften the eyes, soften the jaw, and soften the breath. Relax the body. Relax the mind. Relax the breath. Allow your posture to remain upright. Don't be too rigid. Feel as if the vertebrae of the spine are just gently sitting one on top of the other. And as you bring your awareness to the breath, let your awareness settle there for a moment. Feeling the natural inhalation, experiencing the natural exhalation. And then in a moment we're going to open up with 3 Oms. So we're settling our full awareness of the vibration of this mantra, which is a recalibration of our being back to the source of who we are. And then we'll begin with also the teacher-student prayer. Feel free to chant this aloud in your own space. Or if you don't know or don't feel comfortable, just allow yourself to absorb the vibration of the chants. So we'll begin with 3 Oms. Take a full in-breath. Exhale thoroughly. Take another in-breath. Sahana vavatu, sahana bhunaktu, saha viryam karvavahai, tejasvina vaditamastu, ma vidshavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. And then very gently you can release your hands down onto your thighs, and then just gently direct your gaze down to the tops of the cheeks or the floor, and then slowly opening your eyes, taking a moment for the eyes to embrace the room that you're in. And then remaining in Sukhasana, just taking the hands to the front of the knees. As you push the knees towards you, gently lift up through the spine, lift up through the rib cage. Draw the lower belly back towards the spine. And then we're going to take the arms beside the body, turn the palms out, and then inhale, bring the arms up above the head into Urdhva Mukha. And keep the belly drawing back towards the spine very gently, and then bending from the hips, lengthening through the front body and taking the hands onto the floor, releasing the head down. And just coming into forward Sukhasana. Just remain here for a few more breaths. If this feels uncomfortable for you sitting on the blankets and you're quite open in the hips, feel free to take the blankets out. I prefer them without the blankets. And you're just coming down onto the buttocks and back onto your mat, and then coming back into forward Sukhasana. As you release the head down, making sure that the buttocks is carrying the weight of your body evenly, the head is released, the shoulders are gently drawing away from the ears, the face and jaw are soft, and the breath is moving in a continuous rhythm, and allowing the breath to meet those stuck places within the body, helping to really move some stuck energy. A couple more breaths. See if you can spread through the fingers as well, so that you feel the four corners of the palms onto the floor. And then with an inhalation, you're going to lift the chest, lengthen the front body, and inhale, come up all the way. Release the legs, and let's do the other side. So we're going to take the right ankle underneath the left knee, bend the left leg in front, bring the hands to the front of the knees again, inhaling, lifting up through the spine, the rib cage, the sternum, taking the arms out to the side, inhaling, bringing the arms up above the head into Urdhva Mukha. Exhaling, bending through the hips, drawing the lower belly back as you come forward, reaching through the arms, the palms come onto the floor, and you release the head. Great. Now keeping the hands about shoulder width apart so that the top of the shoulders feel broad, and really quietening through the inner gaze, softening through the jaw. Again, feeling the buttocks, making sure you're not leaning more to one side. Couple more breaths. If you feel like you can move a little deeper, you might want to inhale, lift the head slightly with the chest, lengthen that front body, bring the sternum forward, and then as you exhale, maintain that length to the front body whilst you ground down through the buttocks as well, and then release the head. And you'll find that you can come a little deeper into the pose. Keep breathing.
Keep the breath soft and gradual. Again, feeling into those stuck places in the body, directing the breath into those areas to soften. Don't push or force. Give your body and breath time to respond to what you're asking it to do. And then inhaling, just very gently coming up all the way, and exhaling, releasing the legs out in front. And now we're going to do dangerous pose. Some of you might need a blanket for this, so feel free to grab a blanket and fold it in half. And then you're going to place it lengthways, not widthways, but lengthways, and place it underneath the buttocks and sit onto the blanket. Then we're going to take the left leg underneath the right leg and bring the foot around towards the side buttock. The knee comes towards the middle of the body, and then the right leg goes over the left. And for some of you, you might only be able to get the foot out in front, but you have the side of the foot onto the floor. If you're a little more open through the hips, you can take the whole leg over the thigh and draw the foot back. And then you might just need to adjust yourself so that the buttocks is equally meeting the blanket and the support beneath you. But essentially you want your hips level and your pelvis straight. Then you bring your hands onto your knees. And again, like we did in the previous pose, you lengthen up through the spine, lift up through the rib cage, draw the shoulders back. Make sure that the head isn't forward. We want to draw the front of the throat back to bring the head back onto the spine, and then lifting through the crown of the head, closing down the eyes. And maintaining this steady, still, quiet posture. And being really soft through the face and the jaw. Making sure you're not leaning too far forward or too far back. Keep the breath moving. You might need to make a slight adjustment to the height of the chest and the rib cage and the lift of the spine. Gently bring the side chest forward. And you can do this with your eyes open or closed, but we're going to release the hands down and turn the palms out. Inhale, bring the arms above the head into Urdhva Mukha again. Draw the lower belly back towards the spine as you exhale now, and extend forward, lengthening through the front body and reaching through the arms, and then bringing the palms down, releasing your head down. And then grounding down through that right buttock, which has a tendency to lift off the floor. Relax the head. Lengthen and soften the breath here. Couple more breaths. Keep the breath smooth and steady. Keep the inner gaze soft, softening the shoulders without losing that extension through the elbows. If you can inch forward a little more, you might want to lift your head and chest, and exhale, come a little deeper into the pose. And when you come to your next in-breath, you can come up all the way and gently release the legs out in front, and then we'll swap sides and do the other side. So now we're going to take the right leg underneath the left leg and bringing the right foot beside the buttock, and then taking the left leg over the right and bringing the knee more towards the midline of the body. And again, if your foot only rests towards the front of your mat, that's fine. If you can take the foot back, feel free to do that. You might need to just lift the buttocks up and settle it back down so that you feel more aligned and equal across the buttocks. Then you can bring your hands onto your knees, grounding down through that left buttock. The tendency is for this hip to lift a little if you're a bit tight, but see if you can draw that left hip and that left buttock down. And as you're doing that, make sure that you're not dropping the shoulder. The shoulders need to remain level, the chest is open and broad, and then the head is resting on top of the spine, closing the eyes. And
and dropping into the experience of the posture. I find this posture very centering, a very quietening, and a very relaxing posture. Even though there might be some intensity through the hips and through the buttocks, I do find that it really brings me into that quiet center. So always through our asana practice, we observe, we feel what our own inner experience is of the asanas that we're requiring our bodies to do. Then releasing the hands beside the body, turning the palms up, inhaling, taking the arms above the head, drawing the navel back as you exhale, coming forward, releasing the hands down and releasing the head down. Now readjust your weight, drawing down through that left buttock, extending long through the arms, softening through the shoulders and releasing through the head. Keeping the breath steady and smooth. And you might find that naturally the breath lengthens here. Just observe that experience if you're having it. Or you might want to intentionally lengthen the breath. Last few breaths, if you feel that you can go a little deeper, just lift the chest slightly. Bring the bottom tip of the sternum forward. Keep bringing it forward as you ground down through that left buttock and release the head and chest towards the floor. Soft face, soft breath. And then inhaling, coming up all the way and exhaling and releasing the legs. So now we're just going to come up onto the knees and we're going to come into Adho Mukha Virasana. Now if you find it really hard to sit like this, it's really tough on your ankles and your ankles look a little more like this, take the blanket, roll the blanket up, place it behind you, and then you can place the top of the ankles onto the blanket. The knees are apart, the toes are pointing in. And because we're doing a forward bend, we don't want the pelvis to sink back. We want to bring it up into an upright position and tilt it forward. When you come forward, feel as if your pubic bone is moving backwards through your legs. So you can bring your hands onto the floor, have the hands a little wider than shoulder width, really spread through the fingers, keeping the pelvis tilting forward, inhaling, and as you exhale, extend forward through the arms, the upper body, resting the forehead down, but keeping the buttocks closely connected, keeping the buttocks closely connected towards the heels. Drawing the shoulders away from the ears, and breathing down into the belly, feeling that release and openness through the inner thighs and the groins. Be soft through the face and the jaw, a little deeper through the breath. A few more breaths now. And then we're going to inhale and come up all the way. And bringing the knees together. We're going to come off that blanket. Now, if you know that you're a little tight through the psoas muscles, you can use a blanket or a bolster, whatever you've got. I have a bolster, so I will show you with the bolster. Otherwise, if you're using a blanket, just fold one or two blankets lengthways like this and place one blanket on top of the other. But if you're using the bolster, you can place it widthways across your mat. And you're going to sit onto the bolster with the buttocks hanging a little over the edge of the bolster. And you're going to lie back so that your head and upper back are onto the floor. But you might need to just adjust the bolster down underneath the lower back, the sacrum and the buttocks. And then we're going to take the right leg towards the chest, interlock the fingers around the front of the knee, and then we're going to exhale and gently straighten that left leg. And as you straighten that left leg,
Feel as if the inner leg is lengthening from the groin towards the inner heel and the inner ball of the foot. And then breathing into that right hip. So I'm just going to make an adjustment here. If you don't need the bolster, feel free to lift up, take it out, and you can use it without, you can do the pose without the bolster, just lying flat onto your back. So I just wanted to give you that variation. So tucking the shoulders down the back, lengthening through the back of the neck. Breathing. And with each breath, you might find that you can bring the knee a little closer towards the chest. Last few breaths. And then exhale, releasing and bringing the right foot onto the floor, bending the left knee. You might need to just adjust your hips and shoulders again so that the shoulders are above the hips. Bending the left knee towards the chest, hugging the left knee down towards the chest, softening through the shoulders. Extending long through that right leg now. Make sure that the right foot doesn't fall out to the side. We want the inner right leg to draw towards the floor, the heel down, the toes up. And then breathing into that left hip, bringing the left thigh knee a little closer to the chest, feeling that stretch to the psoas. A few more breaths. You might find that you can add a little to the breath here. Good, last few breaths. And then bending the right knee, placing the foot onto the floor and exhaling, releasing that left leg down, left foot down onto the floor. And now from here we're going to roll to the right side. We're going to sit up again. And we're going to come around and come up onto our knees, and we're going to come into Pigeon Pose. So from here we come down onto the hands and knees. We're going to just bring the right foot forward. As you bring the right foot forward, swing the right foot forward a little so that the heel is in line with the left hip. So some of you might look a little like this. We want to try to align the pelvis by turning the outer left hip and the outer... Actually, I might turn this way so that you can see it better. So we want to turn the outer left hip and outer left thigh down towards the floor. The left toes are pointing directly back behind you. We're coming up onto the fingertips and we're inhaling, lifting up through that front body, lengthening through that spine. As you lift through the rib cage and you lengthen through the front body, you exhale, come forward, but keep bringing that outer left hip and outer left thigh forward. And then coming down onto the elbows and folding the arms across and resting the forehead down onto the arms or the hands, or if you like, feel free to extend your arms long and rest your forehead onto the floor. And just staying here for a few more breaths. Making sure that the left toes aren't turning in, extending them back. The outer ankle is drawing towards the inner ankle. Breathing into that right buttock, right hip. Feeling that alignment of the pelvis. Last few breaths. And then inhale, come up all the way. Whilst I'm here, I like to just do another little adjustment where I tuck the back toes under, slide the knee away, and you'll get a little bit more length, and then a little bit more length through that left hip flexor and left thigh, and then extend the toes back. You can push into the floor a little to turn that left hip and left thigh forward. And you'll feel this a little into the pelvis, a little into the lower back. Pushing into the hands to lift up, lifting up from the base of the heart. And then exhaling, releasing the buttock back down and bringing the leg across. And I'm going to turn this way now so that you can see my right leg. So this time we're going to bring the left foot forward and bring the left heel in line with the right buttock. I start with the toes tucked under, lifting the knee up, the right knee up, and extending it back as far as I can, and then sliding the toes back, coming onto the back foot. The back ankle, the outer ankle turns towards the inner ankle, the toes turn back. The hands come onto the floor, pushing into the floor as you inhale, lift up through the chest and the rib cage. Really get that length. Now turn that outer right thigh and outer right hip down towards the floor. Keep it turning down as you exhale. Bend from the hips and come forward. And again, just folding the arms across, resting the head down. Softening through the shoulders and the jaw. And again, just feeling into the stuck areas of that of the left hip, left buttock. Softening and breathing into it, releasing even deeper. Letting the exhalation guide you in that deeper release. Really let go into it, yield. Couple more breaths. Stay with it. Good. And then as you inhale, you can come up all the way. Don't come out of the pose just yet. Come up onto your fingertips. Tuck the back toes under. Lift the knee off the floor and extend the knee back. Get one last length through that right hip flexor and right thigh. Extend the toes back. Bring the outer right hip forward. As you push into the floor, lift up from the base of the ribs and base of the sternum, base of the heart. Draw the shoulders back. Couple more breaths. And then exhale. Release your left buttock down. Slide your right leg out in front. So you may be feeling some release through the lower back at this point. Definitely more openness through the hips and the knees. We're going to do one more posture or a couple more lying down, and then we're going to stand up and do some standing poses. So again, because we're going to be lying flat onto our back, if you used a blanket before for your head to keep that length to the back of the neck, use the same blanket now. Place it onto the front of your mat, and you'll also need your strap. And if you don't have your strap, you can just use your scarf. So I'll use my scarf so you have an idea of what we're going to do. So again, we're going to do Supta Padangusthasana 1 and Supta Padangusthasana 2. So we're going to just adjust the blanket for the head, and I probably could do with a little bit less height. So I'm just going to adjust my blanket. Great. And now from here, just lift your head, look down the center line of your body, making sure that the shoulders, hips, knee and ankles are in line. Heels are down, toes are up. Just tucking the buttocks towards the feet, tucking the shoulder blades down the back. And then we're going to bend the right knee. You might need to bend the left knee as well and have the foot onto the floor to start with. Then we're going to take this strap or the scarf and place it over the foot, just below the ball of the foot. I like to wrap my hands, the strap around my hands. Now keep that right leg straight. Keep the inside edge of the foot pressing into the strap or the scarf. And then as you exhale, like we did earlier, we're going to straighten that left leg along the floor with the heel down, the toe up. And as you bring the right leg towards you, just notice if your thigh and your kneecap are turning inward. If they are, turn it outward a little and let that right hip gently lengthen out of the waist. Good. Now you'll feel a big stretch through the back of that right leg. Just breathe into it. And just notice what's happening to that left leg, the outside edge of the left leg. Try not to draw it down towards the floor, you're drawing it away. And the inner left leg is pressing towards the floor. Softening through the jaw and the shoulders. So this is Supta Padangusthasana number 1. Reclined foot to hand pose. And now we're going to just release the hands from the strap, and we're going to wrap the strap just around the right hands as we move into Supta Padangusthasana 2. So really turn that right thigh and right kneecap out. And what I want you to be really aware of here is the back of the pelvis. We want to try to keep the back of the pelvis, both sides, right and left, closely connected to the floor. So in a moment, we're going to take this right leg out to the right. And as you do that, you need to resist down with the back of the left pelvis. And if you can, take the left arm out to the side, reaching away with the left arm. The left foot and the heel remain as they are. Okay, now inhale, draw the right foot towards you. As you exhale, take the right leg out to the side, and now resist down with the back of that left pelvis. And only take the leg out as far as you can so that the back of the left pelvis remains somewhat connected to the floor. If you want to get a little bit more opening through the groin, you just take the foot towards the shoulder. Good. And now really feel the back of that left pelvis connected towards the floor. The left hip, outer hip is also drawing towards the floor. That inner right leg is lengthening away. Soften through the jaw, soften through the shoulders, keeping the breath moving. If you want to take the right foot towards the shoulder, you can pull onto the strap or the scarf, whatever you're doing. A couple more breaths. And on your next inhalation, you can bring the leg up, and exhale, you can release it down. And now just take a moment to feel into the back of the right pelvis compared to the left. Just feel that warmth. Feel how there's more space. There's a sense of spaciousness, a sense of looseness. You can definitely feel that difference. Keep breathing. And then from here, we're going to bend the knees. Actually, you're not going to bend the knees, you're going to stay here. I'm going to bend the knees and just turn around so that you can see my left leg. But you stay here and continue to lie down straight. You might want to make a few adjustments where you're gently rolling the buttocks towards the heels. Both knees can be bent now. And then you can bend your left knee towards your chest. Take the strap or the scarf and place it just below the ball of the foot. You might want to hold on with both hands and make sure that your hands are equal distance from the foot. As you wrap the strap or scarf around the hands, gently pull the leg towards you with a slight outward rotation of that left thigh and kneecap, as well as that left hip gently pulling out of the waist. And then when you're ready, slowly straightening through that right leg. The right heel is down, the toes are up. Couple more breaths. Gently pull the leg closer towards you. Breathing. Good. And then releasing the strap or the scarf and wrapping it around just the left hand, the left wrist, holding on just with the left hand now. If you can, take the right arm out to the side, shoulder height. Now again, on this side, we're resisting down with the right back of the pelvis and the hip. So inhale, draw the left leg towards you and turn the left hip out of the waist. Maintain that as you exhale. And as you take the left leg out to the side, resist down with that back of the right pelvis. Good. Push out through that right hip. Sorry, not right hip, right heel. Take the leg down as far as you can, but keep the back of the right pelvis connected to the floor. And then lift the foot towards the shoulder. Keep breathing. Holding here, feeling that release. You might feel like you can Straighten that left leg a little more, pulling the foot towards the shoulder, extending out through that right heel and right foot. Couple more breaths. Resist down a little more with the back of the right pelvis. And then on your next inhalation, coming up. And then exhalation, releasing the strap, releasing the foot, and bringing the leg down to meet the other one onto the floor. Release the strap and the arms beside you and just feel the back of the pelvis, the lower back. Breathing, feeling, and being for a moment. Good. Last few breaths. So we like to move between doing and being. Action and non-action. Just allowing yourself to experience yourself as a whole here. Experience the result of your efforts so far. And then when you're ready, bending your knees, rolling to the right side and sitting up all the way. Fantastic, everyone. So you've made it so far. Now we're going to stand up and actually do a few standing poses. You might need a block for your standing poses. If you have blocks, place one on each side to the back of your mat, just in case we need them. Okay, great. So now we're going to come into Tadasana and just look down towards the feet, making sure that the toes are level and the hips and the chest are facing forward, the arms above the side body. We're going to take the hands to the chest, bend the knees, and either jump or walk your feet about one of your leg lengths apart. We're going to turn the left foot in to a 45-degree angle, and we're going to turn the right foot out. We're going to move into Trikonasana from here. So just look down to your right thigh kneecap and make sure that it's rotating outwards. Keep the back thigh firm as you inhale, lift up through the chest. As you exhale, extend long through that right arm and lengthen through the waist, bringing the hand down onto your leg to a comfortable position. Or if you like, you can bring it onto the block. Make sure that the block's to the outside edge of your foot. Then you can take the left arm up towards the ceiling. Try not to collapse down into that right hand, lift away from it, turning the rib cage and the chest and bringing the pelvis forward and taking the upper body back. Turning towards the ceiling, lengthening the tailbone towards the back heel, lifting up through that left arm. Keep the breath smooth and gradual. And then when you're ready to come up, bend that right knee. Push into that right foot, inhale, come up all the way. Exhale, smoothly transition to the left, turning the left foot in 45 degrees, the right foot out. The left foot out. The kneecap and the thigh are rolling outwards. Inhaling, lifting up through the chest. And as you exhale, lengthen out through that left arm and left waist, bringing your hand down to your leg. The right arm comes above the shoulder towards the ceiling. You might want to put the hand onto a block, whatever you choose to do. And if your knee extends, make sure that you keep a slight bend to that knee, that front knee. And then pushing away from that bottom hand, rolling the rib cage and the chest and looking up towards the hand in Trikonasana. Keep the tailbone lengthening towards the back heel, and then you're also lengthening out through the back neck. The breath is gradual and smooth. Back thigh is firm. And then bending into that left knee, pushing into that left foot as you inhale and come up. Exhale, turn the foot in and jump your feet back to Tadasana, releasing the arms back beside you. Taking an inhalation and an exhalation. We're going to move into Virabhadrasana 2, taking the hands to the chest, bending the knees. Inhale and jump your legs a little bit wider apart than the last distance. Again, we're going to turn the left foot in 45 degrees. The right foot turns out 90 degrees. Roll the kneecap and the thigh out. Keep the back thigh firm, and as you exhale, bend the knee, the right knee, to a right angle. And if you're quite tight in the hips and your knee's looking a little like this, take your foot and walk it towards the back of your mat. And let that back hip come forward a little. Keep the front of the back thigh pressing back, the outside edge of the back foot into the floor, the arms shoulder height, looking towards the tips of the fingers, keeping the gaze soft, the breath soft. See if you can take the head of that right thigh bone towards the floor a little more. And then pushing into that right foot to straighten the leg. Exhale, turning that right foot in 45 degrees, left foot out. Rolling the left thigh, kneecap out, keeping the arms up. And now as you bend that left knee, this left inner thigh is lengthening. The outer knee is drawing back towards the hip, so it's almost like a circular motion. You're bringing the arms up, keeping the torso vertical, bend a little more so that the head of the thigh bone comes towards the floor, and then you're looking towards the tips of the fingers, keeping the inner gaze soft, tailbone down, outside edge of the back foot pressing towards the floor. Couple more breaths here. And then as you inhale, push into the foot to straighten the leg. Exhale, turn the foot in. You might need to walk your feet in a little, bend the knees, and jump back to Tadasana. Take a few breaths here. You might want to even close your eyes. Steady the breath. Calm the body. And feeling into the energy of living presence in your body, just feeling those sensations, observing what's happening through your body. What's your experience? Maybe your heart's beating a little quicker. Maybe your body's feeling a little warmer. Maybe your lower back feels a little freer. Have you noticed that? And then gently open the eyes, take your hands to your chest again and inhale, jump that same distance apart. And as you jump your feet apart, that wider distance, again we're going to turn the left foot in 45 degrees, the right foot turns out, and you want to align your right heel to your left heel. Give enough space for this hip to open up. The arms are up, shoulder height. We're going to move into Parsvakonasana. So now turn the right knee and thigh out. Keep the back thigh firm. Exhale, bend the right knee. Again, as you're bending, you're lengthening through this inner thigh. The outer knee is pulling back towards the hip. So that circular motion with that leg. And then we're going to extend the arm long through that waist, long through that arm, and you bring your hand down to the outside edge of your leg. If you can't reach the floor, that's what your block is for. So bring it to the outside edge of your foot, and whatever height you want. I like to do it without. Okay, and then you're bringing your top arm up towards the ceiling. Now a lot of you might look like this where you're closing the front body. So what we want to do is lengthen the tailbone towards the back heel and peel open the body. Take the upper body and head back. Good. Now keep lengthening the tailbone towards the back heel. The back thigh remains firm. The rib cage and the chest are turning towards the ceiling. Now we're going to rotate the arm from the shoulder joint, the top arm that is, and exhale the arm over the ear. And feel that line of extension from that right hand, right arm, down your spine, towards your lower back, towards the tailbone. Keep the breath moving. Now do this in one breath. Inhale, bring the right arm, push into the right foot, straighten leg. Exhale, turn the right foot in 45 degrees and the left foot out 90 degrees. You might need to readjust your feet here. Then we're going to inhale, lift up through the chest. Keep the torso vertical as you exhale and bend the knee. And again, looking for that circular movement of the inner thigh and the knee. And then extend out to the left, taking the hand to the outside edge of the foot or onto the block, and taking the top arm up. Now again, if your buttocks and pelvis is moving back and your upper body is moving forward, we want to do the opposite. So bring the pelvis forward, lengthen the tailbone towards the back heel, take the upper body back, head back. Good, now externally rotate the upper arm and exhale, take the arm over the head. Into Parsvakonasana. And feel that line of extension from the crown of the head all the way down towards the tailbone. Peel open the body a little more. Take the upper body and head back. Keep the back thigh firm. The outside edge of the foot is pressing towards the floor. Couple more breaths. And then pushing into that foot, inhale, coming up, straightening the leg. Exhale, turning the foot in, stepping the feet a little closer together, and jumping or walking the feet back to Tadasana. Close the eyes here. Take a moment to breathe, to steady the breath, to feel the body. Really just observing and feeling that full energy circulating through the entire body. Last few breaths. And now we're going to open the eyes, take the hands to the chest, bend the knees. Inhale, jump wide apart again. That longer distance, like the previous two poses. This time we're going to turn the left foot in as deep as we can, turn the right foot out, and we're going to turn the pelvis, the hips, the chest towards the front foot. And we're going to come into Virabhadrasana 1. So this is where we externally rotate the upper arms, turn the palms towards the ceiling, and then inhale, bring the arms above the head into Urdhva Mukha. Keep the back thigh firm and the outside edge of the back foot pressing to the floor as you exhale, coming into Virabhadrasana 1, Warrior Pose 1. Good. Now try to bring that back hip forward, extend long up through the waist, lift up through the rib cage. The upper arms are externally rotating, and you're pressing the outside edge of the back foot into the floor. Now push into the front foot as you inhale to straighten the leg. Exhale, turn the back foot in, the right foot in as deep as you can, the left foot out, turn the pelvis, the hips and the chest to face the left. You might need to adjust your left foot to the left side a bit. Keep the torso vertical now as you exhale and bend that left knee. Bring the outside edge of the back thigh and hip forward. Keep the front of the thigh pressing back and the outside edge of the foot pressing towards the floor. Lift up through the rib cage and the chest. Extend up through the arms. Okay, now listen carefully. We're going to move into Adho Mukha svanasana, downward dog. Exhale, bend from the hips, extend the arms out in front, place the hands onto the floor and step your foot back and find your Adho Mukha position, your downward dog position. There should be about one of your leg lengths between your wrists and the tips of your toes. Your hands are a little bit wider than shoulder width apart. The index fingers are parallel and you're pressing down through the thumbs and the pad of the thumbs. The feet are about hip width apart with the heels slightly wider than the toes. Now if you're looking a little like this and your pelvis is tilting backwards, I'm going to ask you to bend your knees and see if you can tilt your pelvis forward a little. And as it tilts forward, lift the crease of the buttocks towards the ceiling. Now maintain that, keep the knees bent. Feel as if you want to push or stretch the mat away from your head and lengthen through the armpits. Maintain all of that, and without changing anything, just very gently straighten the knees. Press the front of the thighs towards the back of the thighs, open up the knees, and then you can think of grounding down through the heels. Couple more breaths here. And now from here, we're just going to walk our feet back a little and we're going to come into Urdhva Mukha. So listen carefully, pressing down firmly through the pad of the thumbs and the index fingers. We're going to bring the weight forward. Keep the weight forward, keep the legs firm. We're going to roll over our toes, extend our toes back, drop our pelvis and hips towards the floor, and then lift our chest and take our shoulders back. Keep the buttocks firm, the lower belly pressing back towards the spine. Don't even look up. If you're doing Urdhva Mukha, upward dog like this, where you're collapsing the chest and looking up, look straight ahead, lift up through the sternum and draw the shoulders back. And now engage through the core as you push into your hands, roll over your toes and come back into a slightly longer Adho Mukha. And again, inhale. We're going to bring the weight forward, keeping the chin towards the chest. Keep the weight coming forward, strong through the arms, roll over the feet, drop the pelvis and the thighs towards the floor. Extend the big toes back, bring the side chest forward and take the shoulders back. Just look straight ahead. Now again, strong through the arms, draw the lower belly back, pushing into the arms, push the hips up, take the head and chest towards the thighs, come back into Adho Mukha, downward dog. Now we're going to do that one more time. So your downward dog here is a slightly longer variation. Again, strong through the arms, press down through the pad of the thumbs and the index fingers and the knuckles, bringing the weight forward. And as you bring the weight forward, you roll over your toes, bring the hips forward. Now if you're feeling dumping into the lower back, your thighs might be dropping like mine are here. What I want you to do is press into the feet and lift the front of the thighs up and draw the lower belly back to protect the back. And there's no dumping. And then as you exhale, strong through the arms, strong through the core, pushing the hips up. And now find your Adho Mukha, the right distance and variation of Adho Mukha. Last few breaths. And if there's any stuck energy in the breath, you might want to inhale and let out through a deep sigh. And do a few of these. Now listen carefully. We're going to step the left foot towards the right foot. We're going to lift the right leg up towards the ceiling, as high as you can get it. Engage through the core, look up towards your hands, bring your weight forward, keep the core engaged, big step up with your right foot. We're going to bring the left hand onto the floor and we're going to take the right hand to the outer knee and thigh and use it to turn the chest towards the right. But before you do that, engage through the core. So draw the belly back, engage through the core as you turn your rib cage and your chest towards the right. Push out through your left heel and then extend the right arm towards the ceiling. Just a variation of Parsvakonasana 3. Keep pressing down through the inside edge of that right foot. And then exhale, turn down towards the floor, step your foot back, coming back into Adho Mukha, then stepping the right foot towards the left foot, lifting the left leg up towards the ceiling, and then look up, engage through the core, big step up with your left foot, bringing your right hand to the inside edge. It's not right up to the inside edge, it's a little further away. You bring your left hand to the outer left knee, engage through the core and gently turn the rib cage, the navel and the chest towards the left. Try not to dump down into that right arm and right hand, and then extend the left arm up towards the ceiling. Now keep pressing down through the inside edge of that left foot and push down through the back heel. Keep breathing. If you breathe a little deeper here, it's really good for strengthening the diaphragm in this twisted position because you have some resistance. And then exhale, turn down towards the floor. Readjust your hands onto the floor, move back into downward dog. And then from here, we're going to look up, bring the weight forward, bend the knees. Inhale, jump the feet to the hands. And exhale, straighten the legs, bend the elbows out and the head down. And from here, we're going to inhale and we're going to reverse that dive. Take the arms out to the side, up towards the ceiling, palms together, and exhale. Release your hands past your face, past your chest, and back down beside you. And close the eyes. And just take a moment to feel the result of your effort. Feel the energy of living presence through your body. Let the breath settle, let the body stabilize. The standing portion of our practice is complete. Just feeling and being. Last few breaths.
Okay, great. So now that we've completed our standing asana, we're going to come down onto the floor again to start to bring our practice to a quieter space. But we're also going to continue to work on releasing the lower back. So I love this following pose. It is a little bit challenging and it does help if you do have some supports. So let's start with the supports and I'll show you how to set that up and then we'll go into the posture or the asana without the supports. So we're going to be lying back into Supta Virasana. So I tend to use a block, or you can use a book if you haven't got a block, or some blankets, and then a bolster. And place the block at the top end of the bolster, and then you're going to come up onto your knees in front of the bolster. So from here, we're going to just come down onto the buttocks, and just bring the right leg out, and bring the buttocks onto the floor. So the right leg will be bent and the left leg will be bent into Virasana. Okay, I'm just going to start again. Okay, great. So now we're going to slow down and do some asana on the floor after all those standing poses. So the next pose we're going to do is Supta Virasana, and you'll need a bolster and a block, and just set them up in this way that I have here. If you don't have a bolster, that's fine. And if you don't have a block, that's fine. Just use a book and maybe use some folded blankets lengthways. And what we're going to do is come into Supta Virasana. So in Supta Virasana, we're bringing our buttocks to our heels. We're just going to take the right calf, the top of the right calf, just in that knee joint, pull the top of the calf down and roll it out a little.
and then sit in between the feet. Now in this easier variation, we're going to pull the left leg out from underneath us, bring the buttocks onto the floor in front of that bolster, and then we're going to just lie back. And as you lie back, just make sure that the foot, the top of the foot is onto the floor and the toes are extending back, and the buttocks is rolling under. And then if you like, you can straighten that left leg. Or if you want a bit more of an intense pose, you can bend the knee and then take the knee out to the side so that the knee rests onto the floor. And for those of you who aren't feeling much of a stretch through the front body, through the front of that thigh and hip flexor, it might mean that you can come down onto the floor without the supports. So this is how you use the supports. If you choose not to use the supports, just come up. Let me just flick these supports out to the side and come down onto my elbows and forearms. Once I've done that, I tend to like to lift the buttocks up and roll it under just to lengthen out through the lower back, and then to come down onto the floor all the way. And you will feel quite an intense stretch through the front of that thigh. Now, if this is all you can do, that's fine, just stay here. If you choose, you can take your arms over your head and hold onto the elbows, or if you like, you can let that left knee and leg go out to the side. You're pressing down through the top of that right foot slightly and tucking the shoulder blades down the back. And then just use the breath to release the intensity of the stretch. See if you can just drop breath by breath deeper into the pose. Feel the lower back stretching and releasing. Now this should feel relatively easy after doing all those warm-up poses and the standing asana as well. Back in the day when I first started yoga, this was one of the first poses we started with in the warm-ups. It was pretty intense. Probably wouldn't teach it like that now, and I tend to do a few things before I get into this pose, but I definitely use this pose every time I do a practice. I usually do Supta Virasana. So when you're ready, we're going to bring that left leg up if it's out to the side, and you're going to take your hands onto the floor, pushing into the elbows and sitting up all the way, and then bringing the leg out from underneath you. And that feels so good on that side of the pelvis. Now we're going to do the left side. So I'll just turn around so that you can see. We can take, so this is another way that you can get into it, just by sitting into Tadasana. Then we can bend the left knee out to the side, and we can just pull the top of the calf and roll it out, and be onto the top of the foot with the toes pointing behind you. And then we might just take the hands onto the floor, lift the buttocks up and roll it towards the right heel, and then come down onto the forearms and onto the back. And again, it feels quite intense to start with, but just let it release. Take a few more breaths here. And then we're going to bend this right knee and take it out to the side if you feel that you can. If it feels too intense for you, that's fine. Just keep the legs straight. Just tucking the shoulders down the back, making sure the jaw isn't clenching. Keeping the face nice and soft. And if you like, taking the hands over the head and holding onto the elbows, gently softening and releasing into it. Breathing into those stuck places and those tight places. Good. A few more breaths. Good. And then when you're ready, we're going to just bring the knee up, straighten it, or keep it bent, whatever's easy. Come up onto the elbows, pushing into the elbows, and then bringing the left leg out from Supta Virasana. So now we're going to do the full variation of Supta Virasana. So I'll do it side on so that you can see. Coming up onto your knees with your knees together, your feet a little wider than the knees. You'll come down, Hold the top flesh of the calf, pull it down away from the back of the knee, roll the top flesh out and sit down in between your feet. Release the hands, take the hands onto the floor, and again, I'm not using supports, but you can use a bolster or blanket behind you, any height that you need, coming down onto the elbows, lifting the buttocks up, rolling it towards the knees to lengthen out through the lower back, and then coming down all the way into Supta Virasana, taking the arms over the head and releasing into it. And geez, that feels so good. Feel that stretch in the lower back. Feel the length through the top of the thighs, the stretch through the top of the ankles, and breathing and feeling and just being with the intensity. Relax and let go even more. And let go of another layer. And breathe. Okay, now when you're ready, you can bring your arms up, back down beside you. Take your hands onto your heels, push down into your elbows and sit up all the way. And then lifting the buttocks up, let's just come into a gentle forward bend. As we did earlier today, into Adho Mukha Virasana, releasing and stretching through the lower back. Breathing into the lower belly, around to the side body, and into the lower back. And then you can inhale and come up all the way, and exhale and bring your thighs back together. Now we're going to do one of the last postures in terms of the asanas for our back relief. So you'll need your strap for this next one, and you'll also need your bolster. So here in this position, what we're going to do is Ardha Padmasana, Supta Ardha Padmasana. So in Ardha Padmasana, we're going to start with the right knee bent first, and then we're going to take the undersole of the foot and just bring the outside edge of the foot towards the body, and then draw the foot up as close to the root of the thigh and under the belly as possible. So get it up as high as you can. And then we're going to bend the left leg, and we're going to place the ankle just below the knee. And then we're going to lie back over this bolster. But we're going to use a little bit of support before we lie back. So in this pose, we're going to take the strap, place it underneath the foot and underneath the back of the ankle, and just make sure that the buckle is to one side. And then we're going to tighten the strap to try to keep the knee down towards the ankle. Now, because we're going to be lying back, try not to tighten this too much. If it's too tight, it's going to cause a big arch in the lower back and feel really intense in the lower back, and you won't be able to lie back. So we're going to keep it relatively loose. We're going to turn around, and then from here, we're going to place the hands onto the floor, or we're going to sit right back up near the edge of the bolster and lying back, supporting yourself as you're lying back. You might just need to lift your buttocks up and roll it, and then bring the buttocks onto the floor and the knees down towards the floor. And you'll feel that it's quite intense on this hip. And then we're going to take the arms over the head and hold onto the elbows. Great. And then we're going to lie here and breathe through the intensity. And again, if you choose not to use the support, you're going to come up And we're just going to flick that bolster out away. And this is where you might need to loosen the strap a little more. If it's too tight, it might be hard to come down. I tend to lie back, lift the buttocks up, roll it, and then gently bring the legs back down. And as you can see, my hip doesn't allow my knee and my leg to go down any further, but I feel quite intense through the lower back and the buttocks. And with time, through the use of the breath and just giving the body time to respond to what you're asking it to do, it does release. And then if you like, taking the arms over the head and breathing. And feel that the breath remains a little deeper, a little steadier. Good. Feeling that release. As you feel it, you will be able to allow the outer thigh and the knee of the right leg come down towards the floor. Last few breaths. See if you can add a little to the breath to help with the intensity. Breathe out that intensity through the exhalation, holding on to, or releasing rather, to any of the holding, any of the stuckness, any of the tightness. Last few breaths. Good. And then when you're ready, you can bring your arms back and you can just gently lift the feet off the floor, press into the elbows and come up all the way. And then from here, I like to take the strap off, release the leg, and that leg that was up in Padmasana, you can straighten it now. And I'll just turn towards the camera so you can see what I'm doing. And we're going to move into Janu Sirsasana, head to foot pose. So this straight leg, the foot is in line with the hip, this bent knee, the sole of the foot comes to the inner thigh, and place the heel to the crease of the groin of that bent knee. If you are a little bit tight in the hip and groin, you can just bring it to the inner thigh. So whatever you can do. So we're coming right onto the tip of the buttocks, bringing the hands onto the floor, sitting up, lengthening up through that bent leg side and coming forward and reaching forward to hold onto the foot. If you can't hold onto the foot, this is where you use your strap. Place the strap just below the ball of the foot, holding on with both hands. Inhaling, lifting up through the sternum and the spine, and then exhaling, coming forward, fully into Janu Sirsasana. So as you come forward, draw the inner weight of the body, draw the weight of the body to the inner straight leg. Good, turning the rib cage down towards the floor, softening through the jaw. Good, you'll feel a big stretch through the lumbar. Janu Sirsasana is a beautiful lumbar stretch. Soften through the face, lengthen through the breath, last few moments. And then inhaling, lifting the head and chest, and exhaling, releasing the leg. Well done. Straightening that bent leg. Now we're going to do the other side, so you may need to just use your bolster again if you like. I'm probably not going to use it. Let's just put that out to the side. And I'll turn around this side so we can move into the left leg. So we're going to bend the left leg and lift the left foot. Take a hold of the outside edge of the foot and roll the outside edge up towards the ceiling, bringing the foot to the root of the left thigh, and then bending the right leg and placing the ankle just below the knee. And then again, we're going to take the strap, place it underneath the ankle and over the knee. And I'm a little bit tighter on this side, so I do need to loosen the strap more. for this side. So just notice the differences in your body. And then I'll just turn to the side so that you can see. And as I lie back and I come down onto my elbows, I like to lift the knees up, take a hold of the flesh of the buttocks to roll it up, to lengthen out through the lower back, and then just very gently bring the legs back down onto the floor. And again, just giving your body time to respond. If your legs are up this high and you can't get them to the floor, you're better off using a bolster or some supports underneath your back. And then you're taking the arms over the head, bringing the opposite arm in front, and then relaxing the thighs, the knees down towards the floor. And as much as you can, softening and releasing and yielding into the posture. Yes, it's an intense pose, but the relief and openness and freedom you feel in the lower back after doing this pose is so worth it. Just a few more breaths. You might find that with time the hip releases and you might want to tighten the strap. So feel free to do that. Make any adjustments that you like or that you need. Really feeling that openness of the hip. You'll be feeling this intensity. Some people feel it into the ankle, the shin, the knee, the hip. It's pretty intense. The buttock, the lower back, the glute muscles. I'm feeling it everywhere. Just be with that intensity. Breathe through it. Keep the breath steady, smooth, and gradual. The relief and release you'll feel is so amazing. Couple more breaths. Stay with the intensity. Move deeply towards that intensity. See if you can pierce it with your awareness. Last few breaths. And then you inhale, bring the arms back down beside you, elbows in, and just pushing down into the elbows to sit up all the way. Whew, pretty intense. And then take that strap off, release the leg, and I'm going to turn around and face the camera. And as you turn around, this left leg remains straight, you bend the right knee, again you bring the foot to the inner thigh, or you bring the heel to the crease of the opposite groin if you've got that opening in your hip. And I like to lift up and shift the pelvis back a little to come right onto the sitting bones. Hands come onto the floor, pushing into the floor to lift up through the spine and the rib cage, and then inhaling, lifting the arms up, lifting the torso up and exhaling. As you bend from the hips and come forward, you hold on to the foot. And again, if you can't reach, you use your strap. Ground down through that right buttock and exhale, release the head, bending the elbows out to the side. Just find your posture here. Find yourself in this position before you make any adjustments. Feel the stretch through the right lumbar. And feel the weight underneath the buttocks. Bring a little more weight to the inner left leg and the right buttock. Softening the shoulders, softening the jaw and the face. Keep breathing. Hit the breath a little deeper, a little more gradual. See if you can soften the shoulders away from the ears and bring the sternum forward a little more. Release deeper. Breathe a little longer. And then inhaling, lifting the head and exhaling and releasing. Great, and that was Janu Sirsasana. Now your back should feel quite released and soft right now. Okay, so from here we're going to move into shoulder stand. I love to practice shoulder stand pretty much most times I practice yoga, unless I'm menstruating. If I'm menstruating, I avoid any inversions. But for shoulder stand, I teach it with and practice it with blankets. So I tend to use 4 blankets and folding the folded edges in the same way. If you feel free to practice this without blankets, if that's how you normally practice. I don't recommend it, but some people have learned that way and prefer it. So just making sure the folded edges of the blankets are facing the same way, and then taking the strap. We use this strap a lot. And having it shoulder width apart. So just taking it from the outer edge, tip of one shoulder to the outer tip of the other, and you can see that's probably not long enough for me. So I'm just going to loosen the strap. And it's just an approximate distance. Great. And then we're going to lie down onto the blanket and just place this strap over the arm onto the elbow. And bring these shoulders just below the edges of the blankets. I like to have the feet onto the floor, and at this point you'll feel some of the neck onto the blanket. I'll do another video where I take you step by step through shoulder stand with supports and without supports. So from here, just take that strap onto the thumb so it doesn't get all tangled up. Bringing the knees towards the chest and taking the legs over into Halasana. Taking the strap onto the elbows, interlocking the fingers, externally rotating the upper arms and tucking the shoulders under. Now at this point, be onto the tips of your toes, lift the pubic bone and draw the buttock bones back. Maintain that lift and take your hands into your back. Thumbs around the waist, and inhale and take the legs up into shoulder stand. Now at this point, into Salamba Sarvangasana. The palms are into the back, the elbows and forearms and triceps are pressing down. Try not to have the weight too far into the head, a little back weight into the elbows. And then to lengthen the tailbone, take the feet apart. Simultaneously lift the tailbone and the pubic bone towards the ceiling. Maintain that and bring the feet back together. And lifting up through that lower back. The hands are moving down towards the blankets. The heels are slightly apart, the legs are firm. And you're holding shoulder stand here for a few more breaths. Once you've made your adjustments, just settle into it. Enjoy and notice how this feels for you. You might need to just adjust throughout the posture. Sometimes I find that my head becomes really heavy because my weight is coming away from the elbows. So you need to adjust back a little more. Good, last few breaths. And then from here we're going to bend the knees. We're going to take the knees down towards the forehead. Take the feet over the head into Halasana. Take the hands from the back. Take the strap off before you come out. Otherwise you'll get tangled up. Place the strap out to the side. Hands are onto the floor behind your back. Bending the knees and slowly rolling out of Halasana. And once you've come out, you're going to wiggle back onto your blanket so that the pelvis comes to the front part of your blanket. And then you can just rest there for a moment. And as you rest back onto your blankets with your eyes closed, just really taking in the experience and feeling
of Salamba Sarvangasana. Noticing what it feels like, taking in the wonderful fruits of your effort throughout this whole practice. It was a pretty intense practice in parts, so really just take in how your body feels, how your mind feels. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes and roll to your right side and sit up. And we're going to get ready for Savasana. So in Savasana, we're going to lie down with a blanket for our head, and we're going to use the bolster underneath the back of our knees, just to give our lower back a little bit of support. Since we've done all that wonderful work to release the lower back, let's provide a bit of extra support in Savasana. So when you lie back into Savasana, adjust the pillow. Again, you don't want the chin higher than the forehead, and you don't want the bolster up close so that your feet are resting off the floor. You want it underneath the knees and the shins so that the feet are resting on the floor, shoulders are tucking back. You can let the feet and the legs fall out to the side. And you can close your eyes. And I'm just going to be quiet for a moment. And just find that place within you that allows your body just to release and to let go, and not to feel like you're holding any part of the body. Really soften through the face now, the jaw, the temples, the skin between the eyebrows and the forehead. Really giving your body permission to let go. There is absolutely nothing more to do or to achieve, but to simply rest and be. Allowing the nervous system to settle. Allowing the muscles of the body to settle. Last few breaths. Yielding deeper and deeper into relaxation, into Savasana. The breath can just flow to its own natural rhythm. Make sure that you do give yourself time to rest in Savasana. It's an important asana to include in your practice, and one that shouldn't be missed. I always encourage students to stay back and to stay for the full class, meaning that Savasana should be completed before leaving class. Really enjoying this time of doing nothing, of letting go, of relaxing deeper and deeper. Feel the muscles of the body melting. So now if you like and you want to stay here longer, feel free to do so. But just for timing, we're going to bend the knees, roll to the right side,
As you rest on the right side, just take a moment to notice how you feel, how the body feels, how the mind feels. Gently opening your eyes and then sitting up all the way as we prepare for our closing chants. So again, as you did right at the beginning of the class, we're going to take some supports and we're going to sit in our seated position. And again, whatever support you need, I'm going to finish sitting off in Siddha Yoni Asana. You sit in any position that feels right for you. And now as we sit, get comfortable, close the eyes. We're going to bring the palms, our hands together into Anjali Mudra, but in the second variation where we release the elbows down, the fingers are pointing away from the heart in this Blessing Power Mudra. And we're just going to gather up all the merit of our practice, the good feeling, the way it's made us feel, the good health it's generated. And really take a moment of gratitude for the beautiful sacred practice of yoga. We're going to gather that all up together and we're going to send it out as a blessing to all beings, because we want all beings to feel as good as this. We're going to finish with the last line of the Shantipat mantra, Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. We'll chant that 3 times, Om Shanti 3 times, and then we'll finish with the Mahamrityunjaya mantra. If you don't know the mantras, I have done another video. My previous video to this goes through these mantras that I include in my practice and my teaching. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta Sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhi Pushtivardhanam Urdhva Mukha Mrityo Mukshiyamamrita. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om Tat Sat, Hari Om Tat Sat. Tatastu Shivoham, Shivoham, Shivoham. I am that essence, I am that essence, I am that essence. And very gently you can release your hands, direct your gaze to the tops of your cheeks, and gradually begin to open your eyes. Let the eyes refocus And thank you for joining me. I hope that you've really enjoyed this practice and that it's brought some more back relief. See you next time.